Hello and welcome to the video. This is a relatively quick review video. Nearly did air quotes then, because this is a very old model. This is my ZOHD Dart V1. Got it back in December 2017 and it is still being flown. It has lots of bits of dirt ingrained in the nose from various fields. There are blobs of hot glue holding things together, and there's the occasional little cover where it has been through 4 iterations at this point. Now I'm in the middle of thinking about what should be on my list, my kit picks list that I do in every August. And the really funny thing is, this absolutely would be on that list if it was still manufactured by ZOHD. This was the original Dart, and then there was the Dart XL. If you remember, I did a revisit of that as a review a couple of weeks ago now, and that is still available as something you can buy. Then they brought out its baby brother. That was the Dart 250G. Loads of people love them. I still have mine here. My friend has one and he really loves flying it around. You need relatively calm conditions for that. But this was the original and, in my humble opinion, the best. If this was still sold, this would probably share the top spot along with my Atomar Dolphin. It's that good. Now, the first iteration of this was back in very early 2018, January 2018 after I got it. It was originally set up with analog system and also a ZOHD Copilot Lite back in those days. Love to fly it, very easy to hand launch, it is super easy to fly. It became one of the regular things that I played with. Then in January 2020, I put a Radix flight controller in here. This is why it's still sporting the Brain FPV livery. This was what you got with a kit. It is coming off in a couple of places, but I still like it. It's good for the little bit of orientation that you have, because on the bottom there's nothing at all, but on the top, if you see these flashes of red and blue, you know you're looking at the top of the wing surface. Once that had been built out, that was also using Crossfire, which is what these covers are for here. There was a big Immortal T style antenna sticking vertically out the plane. It flew like that for many years. It was the one that always went in the boot of the car because it is easy to transport. Not only is it easy to kind of put together, but you can take it apart and everything is held on with magnets. And this is one of the things we're going to talk about in a minute. It's so easy to put together, but also if you need to swap or have any spares, then that's a piece of cake to do as well. This is one of the first models that I got in that had electrical connectors in the wing roots. So you just pushed it all together and it meant that it could fit in something like a 20-litre backpack. So it was used an awful lot. Then in March 2023, I realized that it wasn't being put in the back of the car when I went to the field, and the reason for that was that it was still analog and I was flying Walksnail pretty much exclusively at that point, and that's a shame. This is too good a model not to be flown. So in that video that I did a while ago, I put one of the 1S Walksnail units into the nose, and there's actually more room in here than you think. There's easily enough room for a 1300 3S pack. You can definitely get some HD stuff in the nose, and in fact this one's been modified. We'll come on to this latest build in a moment. And you can get a flight controller in here, and I actually replaced at that point, because the Radix didn't have enough UART sadly, I replaced it with a Maytech flight controller and stuck in the 1S unit and was flying it. Now the 1S unit was okay. It was getting a little bit warm, and also I had to have a 5-volt converter from the mains and it wasn't great. However, I had this Walksnail unit in here. This is one of the V3s. I thought, you know what? I need to pop this in. So this has just been updated. I've just been flying it. And you know what? Again, it puts a big silly grin on my face. So this is the 4th incarnation. Continues to make me smile. So before I get into the flight review, what was it about this that made me fall in love so hard? Well, it is cheap and versatile. You can build it out. You can put a hotter motor and prop on it, although the motor and prop that comes on it is actually a really good setup for it. You can do anything you want with it. Kind of prove that by having 4 different setups from it, or you can just have a basic receiver and just fly it line of sight without any FPV at all. It is super easy to fly, even though it has these weird forward swept wings, and this was one of the earliest models that I had with this kind of configuration. It's very forgiving. The stall happens this side of the wing, not this outside leading edge. So if you are a bit silly and you are going a bit slow and the wing starts to stall, it has impeccable manners. It does, as I said, break apart for easy transport. You can put this, get rid of all the vertical bits, make it incredibly thin, and just stick it on the shelf. Or if you want to, you can take it apart and you can stick it in your backpack, or you can take it apart and stick it behind your driver's seat, wherever you want really. It's really handy. It's dead easy to get where you're going to fly, even if it's a little bit off the beaten path. Centre of gravity is easy to get as well. The CG points are here, quite close to the leading edge of the wing, and with a 1300 3S battery in here, some FPV equipment, I've never really struggled. Now it does have quite a bit of additional weight kind of hidden in here in the foam. I've never taken that out, I've never needed to, but similarly I've only ever had to add 5-10 grams maximum if I needed to get the centre of gravity with one of the weird builds. And the last thing I love is that it's super easy to repair. When the pieces were around, if you snapped off one of these or you lost one, you just ordered another one and you just snapped it home, and there you are. Didn't even have to break out the hot glue. Dimensions on this was 635 millimeters. Nice size. I really like these sizes of wings for that kind of backpackable flying, but it behaves, particularly when you're flying FPV, as though it was a much bigger, more stable wing. Motor on this is a 2006 2400 kV. The prop on this one is a 6x3, and that works really nicely. The servos that come in it are digital servos, and they're relatively easy to replace. Again, they're here mounted on the top, out the way of getting damaged when you land. And the PMP weight is about 230 grams. This one, even with a battery in it, isn't particularly heavy. It's about 297 grams without a battery and about 417 grams with. So not heavy by any stretch of the imagination. So with all that covered, what's it like to fly? Let's put a couple of stars on the screen. Well, let's talk about slow speed. Slow speed performance is fantastic. It has a nice big wing area, it's relatively lightweight, it can go under 10 miles an hour without any problem at all, so it gets a massive 5 stars for slow speed. In terms of high speed, in its standard trim with a 3S battery, no, not really. You're probably going to get high 50s, low 60s if you're really lucky, flying downhill with the wind behind you. However, if you wanted a speed machine, I would probably go for another model. Efficiency? It's actually very efficient. It pulls just a handful of amps in cruise. And if you get a reasonable sized battery in here, 1300 3S was the biggest one that I could fit in here, you can kind of cruise around for about 20 minutes, even powering your VTX for something like Orc Snail. Toughness, well, I have to give it 5 stars. This is 5.5 years old. It's still the same stuff. It's still the same wings, although it has cuts and dinks and dings, and it's had a number of repairs. It's still going strong, so I don't see how I can give it anything but 5 stars. The other thing that's really nice about this is if you do land in a slightly aggressive way, what you find is when you come to pick it up is that the wings have popped out and one of these might have flown off, and it seems to absorb some of the crash energy by doing that, and that seems to keep everything from getting snapped and broken. Acrobatics, it gets a reasonable 3 stars. These are nice large control surfaces. You can really crank up the movement on. I'm nowhere near the ends of the control surface adjustment here, but I've got it set up for kind of more general flying than pure acrobatics. You could absolutely increase the throws and make it into a little bit of a flip and roller. Room inside, considering how big this is, there is a stupid amount of room inside. Easily enough for your receiver, your flight controller, you can put your GPS somewhere, you have enough room for a reasonable battery. I actually put in, this is a Menace RC Aeropod, originally a right-hand circular polarized one that was with the analog equipment. I've replaced it with one of the Aeropods for the digital systems. This is left-hand circular polarized, and that's the single antenna that comes out of the Walk Snail unit that's up here in the nose. But hopefully you can see there's enough room in there to get a 3-piece suite and a nice flat screen TV. And last one then is travel and breakdown. I've already said this gets a whopping 5 stars. This breaks down into incredibly small pieces, which will fit easily into a 20-litre backpack. So you don't have to worry about trying to find an Allen key or a screwdriver. It just snaps together with magnets. So in summary, there is a very good reason why this is still one of my go-to planes after 5.5 years of owning it. I do have another one in the box and I've got a number of spares. Thank you to those of you that were in touch when I previously talked about this to send me their pieces of models that they no longer fly. It hopefully means that this can continue to be part of the fleet and fly and give me an awful lot of enjoyment. The thing with this, I guess, is a message to ZOHD. Please, please, please bring this back. Bring a modern version. This was pretty much perfect. The only thing we needed was a slightly more well thought out nose to support modern HD systems and modern FPV, and potentially a fraction more room for a battery so that we could get slightly bigger batteries in for slightly longer flight times. But it's hard to improve on what is almost perfection in a 635mm wing. So if you have one of these, do let me know down below, and fingers crossed ZOHD see the error of their ways and finally reintroduce or reproduce or reimagine this classic ZOHD Dart. Thank you for watching my video. Check out the playlist, and adding Pedantry 60 to your search terms will help you find my content. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. You can support the time I spend here answering questions and helping others by using the links in the video description.